Hello friends, my name is Dr. Jyoti Prakash. I am Assistant Professor in the Department of Management of School of Management Sciences, Lucknow. Now, in this video lecture, we will have a discussion on current trends in IT enabled service industry. So, in introduction slide, the things related to IT enabled services, like the service sector is a massive growth driver and has shown enormous potential, especially in developing countries such as India. It is very true that we are seeing in the scenario that the service sector is now widely accepted by us because of the various factors prevailing in our requirement or prevailing in the situation, prevailing in the overall scenario. So, somehow this shows means service sector shows tremendous growth in the overall operation. So, this is because services are no longer confined to their initial definition of being non-tradable, non-storable and intangible, because we see the earlier classes of services, and the characteristic of services are like they are intangible and they are non-storable, they are non-tradable. So, now with the help of the technology or with the help of various elements included or introduced by the service firms or the organization, these particular aspects of services or these particular characteristic of services are being covered up. So, somehow IT has or information technology has revolutionized the way as we work earlier, and with the boom in IT we saw worldwide trade and services take on an entirely new meaning. Means somehow we can say the contribution of IT is not in fact is nowadays we are very much able to see the contribution of IT, means the overall process of purchasing and the overall the overall process of any transaction that we did that we do today, that becomes so easier and smoother nowadays, and that is of course with the by the contribution or with the help of information technology we do this in a very easier or smoother way. India is referred to as the back office of the world, owning mainly to the information technology enabled services. Somehow India stood or India represents a very front face or basically the backbone of the backbone to represents a backbone to the overall world in terms of these IT related services, because in India there are so many experts and there are so many intellectual capability and resources are available. So, they are able from time to time they are developing new ways of using internet, and that is why India is referred to as the backbone of the world, owning mainly to this particular information technology sector. The ITS sector is not only responsible for putting India on the global map, but also has made significant contribution to the India economy. Means India is now with the help of ITES, IT enabled service sector, India is not only the back office or the backbone of the world, they are also representing means ITS sector basically represents India as a front face or as a growing or shows a significant growth in this particular sector, and that basically proved like a roadmap to all the countries across the world. ITS we started with basic data entry task over a decade ago, and basically now earlier ITS sector is only related to data entry task, means the transactions are being recorded and the information are being recorded for future purpose or for the purpose in means whenever data is required, that that information or that data can be served at any time. So, that sector is or that service is somehow related to that work only, but nowadays it is expanding or it is showing or covering the various section or various activities of the customers or the companies as well. So, it is expanding ITES sector is expanding its scope of services to include increasingly complex processes like rule based decision making and even research service requiring information individual judgment. With the help of ITES services, firms are basically doing various types of surveys and research, and with the help of the gathered information they can accordingly adopt strategies, and they can accordingly formulate the strategies in order to keep pace with the requirement of the scenario or the market. It now offers services such as KPO, means knowledge processing outsource, legal processing outsourcing, game processing outsourcing, and design outsourcing, among others. Now, we as customers are blessed to to use the contribution of the ITES, means IT enabled services, like the services that we are using now. We have never expected that in future time, or in nowadays whatever the services that we are using, we will use in the future time. Obviously, we can imagine, or now we are seeing or we are witnessing these type of things nowadays because of the contribution of IT enabled services. The most important aspect behind India's success in ITES is all about the value added that it brings in the form of customer relationship management, database management, improved overall functionality and aesthetic. As a result, client can always expect two outcomes basically. ITES, basically IT enabled services, not only makes the process or makes the purchase pattern of the customer easier, but also they help the company in maintaining a relationship with the customers. They are also providing a vast storage of the data, means the detailed information about the customers or the prospects. So, and the things or the changing things that are happening in the market, they record all the things, and they basically stored a large amount of data, and through this, or by supervising or by evaluating or by checking those data, the company can accordingly take different strategies time to time in order to maintain relationship with the customers as well, or as well in order to for improving the overall functionality and the performance of the service firm, so that they can just fulfill the expectation of the customers. So, what are the customers or the clients that they have basically? So, what are the expectations of the clients? Basically, clients expect two types of outcomes. The first one is overall improvement in daily work functioning, and the second one is other indirect benefit which may occur or over which may be required over time or in coming time or in future time. Means whatever the services that the firm are providing to the customers, that should be continued on a regular basis. They should not break the overall process, means whatever the process going on, whatever the delivery process or whatever the service quality aspect that the service firm is working on, that should be same and that should be continued on a regular basis. And another expectation or the outcome that the client or the customer can expect, that is all about the indirect benefit that may be available to them in coming time or future time. So, these are basically the outcomes that a customer or the client can expect from IT enabled services in fact. So, the next question is comes into the mind of viewers, that what are different IT enabled services available in India. So, in this slide we are very much able to see the different IT enabled services in India. The technology has evolved from just supporting corporation to transforming them and their functions. So, some of the industry sector in which their change can be seen include, means IT information technology has served or benefited a lot, in fact all the sector available, all the service sector available in India, and some of the industries like they have contributed a lot and they have facilitated a lot, like the sectors call centers, electronic publishing, medical transcription services, data centers, knowledge portals, ERP, enterprise resource planning, back office processing. Means these are some of the industries where IT enabled services has contributed a lot and somehow makes their overall functioning and process smoother, so that they just fulfill the expectation of the customers, and just in return they can just fulfill the objective that they are carrying, and they for that purpose they are basically regulating, and they have introduced these IT enabled services in their operation or in their course of actions in fact. So, why global clients choose ID enabled services provided by Indian firms? Means nowadays various global clients are taking help from Indian firms, Indian IT enabled firms for the purposes like they are because other firms or the global clients know that the India has so much, and India is very vast in terms of intellectual capital and intellectual resources. The questions, the answers of this particular question is like there are many other services which are now being outsourced on the basis of the following, like why why global firms or why global clients select Indian IT enabled services, because Indian companies have better HR practices as compared to most of their global competitors. Candidates are chosen and retained based on their skills and the value that they bring to a project. Global clients basically take help from IT enabled firms in order to complete a particular project that they are carrying basically, and they hire Indians because of they hired or they take help from Indian companies. Why? Because Indian companies have better human resource practices, because we are very much aware that the employees working in any company or any industry, they are treated like assets, and they are basically assets, and if the firm has adopted a good human resource practices with the employees, obviously the outcome and the consequences can never be imagined, that these human resources will contribute their 500 or 200 or 300 or 400% productivity in helping the organization in achieving the objective, whatever the objective that the company is carrying basically. So, the global firms, global clients select IT enabled services from India. Why? Because Indian company have adopted or basically is regulating a good human resource practices to its manpower, so that they have the good or the adequate skills or the human resource in the organization, and they can just outsource and they just send those type of skills and those type of human resource to at the global level in order to complete a particular project. As Indian companies ensure that strict quality assurance protocols are followed while working on a project, because Indian companies are whatever the promises that Indian companies are have done with the global clients, they are very much rigid, or they are very much sincere or strict enough in providing the quality in order to complete the project. It does not mean that in haphazard manner, in a very hurry manner the project will be completed, because Indian companies have made promise that your project will be completed in an efficient or effectively manner. So, Indian companies basically just ensure this particular quality assurance, that whatever the project that have been assigned to them, that project will be completed in a very effective, in a very soundful manner. So, obviously global clients will like it. Maintaining good client relationship extremely important, and most service provider assign project manager to ensure that there is a single point of contact for the clients. Means somehow if Indian companies are focusing on this particular quality assurance, they are basically assuring in terms of quality of the project. So, by doing so they are also trying to maintain good relationship with global firms, and what can be the benefit of doing this particular aspect of means maintaining relationship with global partners, because they will obviously assign newer projects from time to time to a particular firm, and also they will spread that positive word of mouth to other countries or to other partners for taking help of that from taking help of that particular firm to whom that global client has maintained a good relationship basically. So, it is very important for Indian firm that whatever the services they are providing to global client, they just try to maintain good relationship with them, so that they can see or they can feel or they can just experience the positive consequences of doing this particular act. The technology and the infrastructure available in the country are of highest order, which leads to the better overall project stability. Means India has very vast in terms of the resources, means there are so ideal resources available in our country that are unused even till now. So, because of the availability of the technology and the infrastructure and the resources that India has, so global clients basically take interest in implementing different projects in India from time to time, so that accordingly the resources or the infrastructure can be utilized in optimum manner, and the benefit can be shared by both the firm, means the Indian firm and the global client, and both the firm can take benefit of this particular aspect or this particular IT enabled the benefit of IT enabled services. Cost effectiveness is also cited as a major reason why India is considered as a, because in India the resources are available at a very reasonable or at a very cost effective rate. So, that is also one of the reason for what global clients take interest in investing their money or in regulating or implementing some sort of project in India, because they found that whatever the resources and the infrastructure they are used or they have basically used, for that they have to pay less amount as comparison to other countries if they are going to other countries for implementing a particular project. So, these are some of the reasons for what global clients choose basically IT enabled services in India. The reasons like because of the good human resource practices, because if global firms are coming to India, they are also experiences the good human practices of Indian firms, means they just take care of the global clients or the global firms, and because of one of the practice like Indian firms are basically adopt the practice of maintaining good relationship with customer. So, global clients also like this particular act or this particular course of action of Indian firms, and they found global clients basically found that India is very vast in terms of the resources and the infrastructure, and it is also available at a very reasonable or at a very cheaper cost. So, they just generate their interest, global clients basically generate their interest in investing their money in implementing a project, introducing a project in India. So, these are basically the benefits or some of the aspects that are some good points. So, there are some certain challenges that are faced by Indian ITES, means IT enabled service firms. So, what are those challenges? Like the pace at which technology is changing today is allowing businesses the world over to innovate and adopt strategies which are not possible even half a decade back. Means now we are very much able to see that the newer technology are coming into existence, and for a business firm it is somehow become difficult to adopt those type of innovative technology in the overall operation of the offices and in the overall business processes. And the entire world stock of data double every 20 months. So, IT enabled services are making sure that this data is always leveraged in the best possible way, because information or the technology is now changing from time to time. So, it is also one of the challenge that how that information technology and IT enabled service firms provide the information or the data about that changing requirement, about the things which are happening around the market, around the businesses, around the overall world, around the country. So, that somehow becomes a challenge in front of Indian IT enabled services. And at the same time, after the initial golden period, the ITES industry in India is now faced with certain challenges which need to be overcome. Means apart from these, there are some more challenges that have to be faced by Indian ITES firms, and they are like absence of policy reforms. With the rapid growth that IT enabled services have managed, it is extremely necessary that businesses and the government should focus on trade policy reforms for the future, so as to ensure the markets are always open to expanding business initiative. And what can be policy reforms? Policy reforms are therefore of the utmost important. Means these reforms are required in order to provide safety to the consumers, and in order to compensate the losses related to taxes, and in order to safeguard the intellectual property, so that nobody can violate intellectual property of India basically. And domestic job losses means the government and other business firms, means blue chip business firms basically try to focuses and try to just reform the available policy in order to safeguard, in order to basically fulfill and in order to provide safety to the consumer, and in order to provide the convenience, and in order to safeguard the different aspects of the customers basically. So, there is a requirement of a policy which can just take care of all these aspects or all these expectation of the customers and citizen as well in India. And many experts believe that government should work with the industry leaders to create an AEO. AEO stands for Authorized Economic Operator, to supervise remotely delivered services. Means government should appoint some sort of operator like authorized economic operator, which can take care of the delivered services even in the remote area, so that the quality assurance and the promises whatever the government has made to its citizen, that can be ensured in a better way. The second one is data security and privacy. Advanced economies such as US, Japan and the EU are still reluctant to provide India the status of data secure country. Means all of means most of the countries basically know that India is very vast, and India basically represents the front face and the represents the backbone in context of IT enabled services, but they somehow also represent a problem. They also somehow also agree that there is a problem found in India, that is about data security and privacy. So, with stricter policy and reforms set in place and the entire industry upholding to a concentrated set of data security laws, compliance cost of Indian firms will steadily go down. Most US clients, mostly 50% of the US clients believe that data security is their chief concern while working with Indian ITES provide, because they know and they have having a picture. Means these global clients basically like to invest their money in Indian firm and in India, because of the availability of the resources, and those resources are available at cheaper cost, but simultaneously they are also having some sort of fear in terms of their data security and the privacy, because they know that there is in India there is a problem in context of this particular aspect. Means the data can be hacked out, and their private information can be stolen by the firms. In fact, among these, the healthcare sector is most vocal regarding the privacy regulation in place in India, which is quite stringent in the US, but not as much in India. In the absence of data security in India, most of the IT enabled firms in India are ensuring or complying some sort of rules and regulation, so that they just try to remove that negative picture that have portrayed into the mind of the global clients. So, some sort of provisions and the sort of rules and regulations are required, so that the global clients should have also a positive picture or a good image about the data security and the policy aspects that are operating in Indian enabled IT services. The next one is IT high attrition rates. Attrition rates are exceptionally high in most Indian firms in the businesses of outsourcing that leads to high labor costs which need to be absorbed by the firm. And experts fear that such high attrition rate may reduce India's overall competitiveness in the long run. Attrition rate is all about, at that rate means employees are just switching or just leaving the organization. If it is high, then somehow it will hamper the overall functioning of the firm, because you have invested a lot in training some of the employees of your organization in order to complete the project that have been assigned by the global firms. And after completion of the training and after completing some sort of that project, some of your employees just leave your firm because of many reasons, because of the various factor. It may that your human resource practices, your remuneration policy, your leave policy, whatever the policy or whatever the things they have faced they have encountered through working in your organization. Because of that, they just leave at that time, means before the completion of the project they just leave your organization. What will happen? Obviously, your overall process will stop at that time, means it will hamper your overall functioning of the process, and that would also give you or incur you in some sort of cost, because of now you have to formulate new human resource, you have to regulate human resource policy in terms of like recruitment. You have to hire such intellectual property from outsiders, you have to train them, you have to place them, you have to conduct different development program from time to time. So, some of these activity incur certain sort of cost. So, high attrition rate is somehow one of the challenge that comes in front of the IT enabled firms. Tougher for smaller companies to market themselves, obviously, because now every firm is now taking help of and blessed to have the contribution of information technology, and small firms, because they are not having so much of resources, so unable to adopt the updated technology, and somehow they find themselves in facing the situation. They find themselves tough in facing the situation that is prevailing in the overall scenario. Other challenges faced by ITES companies like a high training cost for Indian firms, competition from other countries, lack of cultural affinity, high telecom tariff, infrastructure bottlenecks, means infrastructural facility is available. Obviously, there are so many resources and there is vast resources, and India is having huge resources, but infrastructural facility is not available. So, it is somehow one of the challenge that are basically faced by IT enabled firms. Acceptance of the Indian professional degrees and qualification especially in healthcare, financial and legal services, and visa restriction in case of sending workers for on-site project is also one of the challenge that are basically faced by IT enabled firms. The future, what can be the future of IT enabled services, like they with the help of by keeping pace with the updated technology, they can just adopt different information technology and just artificial intelligence, automation and having big data. They can now expand their activities in identifying new market to expand. They can also increase their focus on fulfilling the expectation of the domestic market. So, these are some of the aspects that these are some of the future, like talent retention, identifying and consolidating niche marketing, alliances with different integration, financing new growth channels by seeking adding value, VC costed partnership with customers to provide solution, leverage technology, and there can be a linkage between industry and academia, so that a good suggestion and a good innovative thought process can be brought up in the organization in order to solve out, in order to complete a particular project. So, these are some of the situation that may arise in the future time and that can be faced and that can be contributed a lot in the future of IT enabled firm. So, these are basically the references of this particular topic. That is all in this video lecture. I hope you will like this particular video. Thank you, students.